Hello, Jeff Helvin here with Ballen Brands, and today I'm going to show you how to optimize your WordPress website pages using the Yoast SEO plugin. So I have my website pulled up here. It happens to be a real estate website, but this video applies to any blog content or page content that we want to look at. In this particular case, I'm going to navigate to one of the blogs that we have written here for buyers, and I'm going to click on right here, this particular blog post. So I am logged in already to my admin. I can also navigate to this page by going into the dashboard and then posts and then find the post that way. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click it in. Now, I've built this page using Elementor, so I could click the edit with Elementor if I'm editing the page, but I'm actually want to use the Yoast plugin, which I find a little easier to use just on the page, the actual WordPress page itself. So I'm just going to click on Edit Post. And now I don't actually see the content here on this page because, again, it's all within Elementor. But what I do see is the actual Yoast SEO tool. So this can still read the content that's in the Yoast plugin, but allows me to, navigate here in order to do the SEO. So when you have Yoast plugged in, you get this extra little box down here. And you'll see there's some different things. Now, readability is good. I've got like the green smiley face. I can mess with the schema and the social. Those are other tools. Yoast does have a premium feature, but I'm just focusing on the free version right now and what we can do in the free version because I think it's a great place to start. Don't necessarily need the premium until we've got the free stuff dialed in. So what I'm going to do here is it has this little frowny face because it's basically saying it's not optimized for SEO, but it's saying that because there's no focus keyword set, no focus key phrase. So there's nothing, it doesn't know what to even look for. So in this case, it's a home buyer guide, like basically, steps to buying a home. So I want to do buying a home, for example. So when I do that, you see it turn from red into this orange, which basically means I'm doing some stuff right, not all things. So I'm checking it out. Maybe I want to do first-time home buyer. First-time home buyer. You try that. Same thing. I'm doing some stuff right, not doing other things. So we're picking which word we want. It's a separate video on like which words to choose and all that. That's a whole nother conversation. But in this case, let's just say we have a an idea of what we're doing. So I'm going to put home buying process. So this is what I want to do. That's ultimately what I want to optimize the page for is the home buying process. Okay, so now going down, there's also ways to get related key phrases. Again, other additional tools, but we're just going to focus on this one right now, the first layer of the onion, I like to say, that we're working on here. So this, if I scroll down, it shows you this is how it's going to look on a search from a search engine. The mobile result, I can switch to desktop result, but this just shows you this is the title, it's going to come up. This is the actual description that's going to come up. In this case, it says, please provide a description because I haven't actually specified one. Now, by default, the search engines are going to pull like basically the first paragraph of the page, but we're able to better define what we want to show up on the actual search engines, on the results. So meta description is actually going to be one of the things you'll see when I click here on the SEO analysis. It's going to say basically we don't have one. And that's what we want to have as a meta description. So we'll go through that here in just a second. So this is the analysis. So as I mentioned, there's a premium version to add, different types of keywords and other things. Again, this is the first layer. There's several layers that we can get into, but this is the first one we always want to start with. So this is telling us problems, key phrase distribution. It's saying, have you evenly distributed your focus? Now, again, this is a premium version or a premium feature that will tell you if you have. But I'm not going to use that right now because this also just says the key phrase itself was found 0 times. So forget about the fact of whether it was evenly distributed. Like it's not even in there right now. So that's something that I need to pay attention to in order to enhance the content of the page. So another thing is it doesn't say, not all the words from your key phrase home buying process appear in the SEO title. So if you notice, the title that we have is Your First Home, a step-by-step guide to buying with confidence. Maybe instead of a step-by-step guide, I want to say a home buyer's home buying process, like a step-by-step guide to the home buying process, for example. Maybe that's what I want to put if that's really what it is. Because keyword wise, I'm not going with buying with confidence, right? I'm going with the home buying process. So if I change that to the home buying process, you'll see now, if I go back down to Yoast, that it is no longer there. So it doesn't show anymore. It's now moved down here to the good results, the things that I have done correctly. And that's, let's see, actually maybe it moved it to orange, keyword phrase, SEO title. Yeah, so now it threw up another one saying the exact match of the focus key phrase appears in the SEO title, but not at the beginning. So what it's doing is it kind of does things on the fly, right? It's showing us the recipe to a good SEO page. So, so changing that is just an example of how we're just going to go through each of those particular steps. Now, I'm not going to make all the changes right now on the page, but I am going to go ahead and pull it up and describe what they are just for the sake of the video here. But I am going to go ahead and point out what these different things are. So as we mentioned, that first one was in the title. Let's go ahead and just look at those. So key phrase density. So it's saying the key phrase was found 0 times. So I go here and I look, and literally home buying process is not found, see, anywhere on the page. So my options, as I mentioned, there's one, we can put it up here in the title by changing that up a little bit. We can also start here, buying your first home is a thrilling milestone, but it can feel overwhelming without the right preparation. Again, we could just say the home buying process. So now in this case, it says understanding the buying process. I could just simply put understanding the, quote, home buying process and just add home in there. And that's going to satisfy at least the keyword being in the introduction. It's going to satisfy the keyword at least showing up once. Now it's saying the keyword should show up 4 times. So I would look through here and, we would look at another place that it makes sense. Obtain mortgage pre-approval, this form of blah, blah, blah. First-time home buyer assistance programs can play a vital role in the home buying process, right? I can just add that in there, for example. We want to make sure we do it in a way that isn't clunky, though. We still want it to read right. We're not, this page really is for the visitor that's at our website and reading the content. So we don't necessarily want to just stuff it with keywords or make it sound really awkward. So we want to we don't want to put them like all right in the same spot, things like that. We don't want to overdo it, but navigating the home search. So maybe I come here, the home search can be the most exciting part of the process, but it requires strategy. So again, exciting part of the home buying process, right? I can just add that in there in these different spots. So that'll show you just basically how to beef up that page a little bit. So then we'd solve the keyword density. Then key phrase and SEO title. So that's the one I just pulled it back out, the home buying process that I had up here. So if I just change that to home buying process. Then no meta description. So now I'll just put the home buying process can be daunting. Don't miss out on this step-by-step guide to purchase your next home with confidence. Okay, so if you notice while I was typing this out, the this bar here was kind of following me along and showing me, is it long enough? Do we have the right stuff? So this just shows you a little green guy there that's saying that now the meta description is long enough. So it is now moved from here. Meta description is now down here because we're doing it good, but it's not here anymore because we've solved that problem. So now I showed you the keyword density, I showed you the SEO title, and then key phrase and subheading. So use more key phrases or synonyms in your H2 or H3 subheadings. So your subheadings are actually these. We've got a plugin installed that does a little table of contents, but these are considered your subheadings. So basically each of the sections. So in this case, the role of first-time home buying assistant programs in the home buying process. For example, we could add it in there. Navigating the home search during your home buying process. Sounds a little funky. I wouldn't use that one. And then maybe making the offer and closing the deal. The last step in the home buying process is making the offer and closing the deal. Something like that, right? So I just want to use the words. Again, I don't want to make it clunky, sound weird, like we're trying to game the search engines, but this is just showing you that Google is not seeing your content as focusing around that key phrase. It's not going to send a website visitor that does a search or a search engine visitor that does a search for home buying process to your page if you literally don't even say the word on there, right? Home buying process or that phrase. If you don't say it in the title, then it means the whole piece of content probably isn't that relevant to that particular key phrase, right? We can't just like pick a phrase and then just, you know, get good results from it, even if the page doesn't focus on that content. So it's really just trying to show you what we need to do to dial it all in to be, to really be the best, like to put our best foot forward. All right, so we've solved all of those. If we make those few changes, the next one is image key phrase. Images on this page do not have alt attributes that reflect the topic of your text. So that comes into play here for each of these images that we have. We might say, calculating the, again, we want it to be relevant. We don't want it to just be keywords and we just put home buying process here. Alt text is actually meant to help those who have maybe visual impairments, things like that trying to explain what should show up here if I can't visually see the image. So we might say something like calculating costs during the home buying process, something like that. So we at least get the words in there. We can add additional images in here if we need to. Again, we don't want to spam the page. We don't want to stuff it full of things that aren't relevant to the visitor. But if we do, if I update this one to have an alt text specifically for home buying process, then it'll give us basically the green light on that one. Key phrase in the introduction. Your key phrase or its synonyms appear in the first paragraph of the copy, but not within one sentence. So basically, it picked up the fact that it says home buying, things like that, but not home buying process. So it kind of goes back to the earlier one where it's saying that the keyword wasn't in the opening paragraph. In this case, it's indicating that we're just not. Again, it must not be a big enough focus. The content is not focused enough around that keyword for Google to know for sure that it's going to satisfy their search engine visitors' interest. And then key phrase in slug. So your key phrase does not appear in the slug. Now the slug is what shows up when usually the slug is built out of the title. So if I would have originally published this page as, a step-by-step guide to the home buying process, for example, if I would have had that, then by default the slug, which is considered the link to the page, would have already said that. But in this case it says first home step-by-step guide. So home buying process is not in there. So maybe I want to change this to step-by-step guide, home buying process, or maybe just straight up home buying process. I can change the URL or the slug that they call it to just home buying process. And I can do that right here on the page if I wanted to do that. Now, if I do that, I do want to use like a redirect tool because my page has already been live for a while. So it would create the original first home step, but that link would be a 404 not found if someone catches it on the search engine. So if I am going to change a URL that already exists, I want to make sure I can install a redirect plugin that says if they go to this page, send them now instead to the home buying process page. Again, we're only doing that if the site's already existed. If you're building a new page or you're building new content, then if we do it right in the first place, we don't need to change it later. But if you're seeing this video after your website's been live for a while and you already have content out there, then absolutely, if you're going to change the slug, we need to make sure we're going to actually change, the redirect so that the search engines aren't throwing up a bad page for you. All right, so that's all we need to do left. So really, here we just had a few things that we need to take care of to dial it in specifically for that key phrase. It tells us we already have outbound links, which that's these links, first time buyers, and we have links throughout the content, purchasing a home, that go to other pages within the website. And then we have images. I'm sorry, those weren't outbound links. Those were the internal links. Outbound links would be like if we're linking to a page that doesn't exist on the website. So in this case, if I had like FHA loans and I linked to the FHA website, or if I had VA loans and I linked to the VA website, things like that. Like those would be considered outbound links. Now, we don't want a bunch of those because we're sending people off of the website. So we still have to make a decision whether or not we really want to do that or whether we still want to keep people, once they land on the page. So again, not all of this is recommended to do to a T because it could make the actual visitor or the content on the website or how people digest the content on the website might work against you a little bit. We don't want that. So we still take all of this with a little bit of grain of salt. I mean, if adding it 4 times, this keyword density 4 times just is clunky, well then it's just gonna be in the improvement section. It's just not gonna be fully green and dialed in. Does that mean your website page won't rank on the search engines? No, not necessarily. And does it mean that if you do all of these things perfect and everything right, that you're going to rank at the top of the search engines? No, unfortunately, we don't have that power either. Because anybody else is using this tool as well, has that same thing. So there's still a lot of factors in ranking, but this is still just putting your best foot forward and doing what we can do. So it's saying we have images on the page, which is great. Internal links, that's what I did show you, which is great. Your key phrase length is good, meaning it's not too long or too short. Like if I just put buyers, that's just too short. But if I put home buying process when looking for a new home or for first-time home buyers, that might be too long. It's too much, too many words. Key phrases in the meta description. The meta description is a good length. Previously used key phrase. I've not used this key phrase before on another page. So if you have 3 different pages that are all part of the home buying process and we're trying to rank all of them or optimize all of them for home buying process, that's just going to be too much. It's too many. Text length, it's saying it contains 1,321 words, which is good. And then the SEO title width is good as well. So again, best practices. There's a lot of other things. Again, premium SEO analysis, adding key phrases, tracking the performance, internal linking suggestions, cornerstone content, advanced insight. There's so much more that Yoast can do. But this video is really just meant to kind of get that first, again, the free version, the first thing that we can do in here just to make sure that we have each page dialed in. It goes up from there. There's lots more that we can get into. But in this case, this is kind of your first step, I like to call it. Does it make sense to do this for every single page on your website? I mean, it depends on the website, right? If you have 20 pages, then sure, go through each of the 20 pages, put in a keyword, make sure they're all dialed in for the different keywords. If you're publishing content or have been for years, doesn't necessarily mean doing this is going to help that other content come up. So it may not be worth doing that. If you're publishing, if your website's publishing articles from, other people, or you have guest blog content or things like that, may not be worth it, right? You have to kind of make that decision for yourself, whether or not the time invested. I'm making a video here, so it's a certain length and I'm explaining things. If I went in here and did this, probably would only take me maybe 7 minutes per page, we'll just call it, just as a random number, 5 to 7 minutes. So, if I have 12 pages, it's going to take me an hour. Why not? Why not go through, go ahead and do that, make sure they're all dialed in or whatever. But if you have hundreds of pages, does it make sense to spend hours and hours doing this? I don't necessarily know that that's true. But in general, this is a good first step in optimizing the page, just at least knowing what the focus is, using this general recipe. Again, Yoast does other things, readability, schema, social, lots of different things. But as a default, we're just going to use these first steps in order to make sure that our page is set up to succeed, right? We want to set it up for success. So if you have any questions on this or anything else, by all means, you can reach out to us at team@ballenbrands.com.